Hello and welcome to a very special, new, long time no see episode of The Modern Nerd. I am Sir Slice,
I'm Merchandise.
And I'm GJC.
and we are, as always, massive nerds. Now, it's obviously been quite some time since we've done one of these, so thank you for your patience for anybody who does follow the channel or the Instagram or whatever it is I'm social on. Thank you two for bearing with me and coming back and doing these episodes. It's always a pleasure. I'm happy to be back. Holy crap! Um, so yeah, without further ado, let's just drop into what we're going to be doing, guys. We're talking about Deadpool and Wolverine, and then we're going to kind of do a quick catch up on, I'd say, San Diego Comic-Con, but really we're just gonna talk about the Marvel casting announcement that happened of Robert Downey Jr. and maybe a little bit on the Red Hulk / Captain America trailer. Um, Deadpool Wolverine. Well, I mean, what can I say? If you went into this expecting one of the most ridiculous fucking things you've ever seen in your life, then you got what you were looking for. This movie was ridiculous and wonderful and visceral, great action. I mean, I loved this thing. And I will touch on this. I'll let Dan talk about it, but I know that there was that speculation of importance in the MCU, and I'm actually kind of glad that it was just a movie, because like everybody weighs so heavily on these movies, they judge them on the impact to the greater universe, and this was just a movie, and it was stood up on its own. It didn't need the rest of the MCU to be relevant and be entertaining, as is clear by the box office success that this is. I liked it. Dan, you like it?
I liked it. Just Feige lied to us, man. And I was not expecting that. And he has not done that before. And he said he said in terms of impacting the MCU, if Infinity War would be a 9, Endgame was a 10, then Deadpool and Wolverine was going to be an 8. Don't see the impact. Tim brought up earlier, maybe it's an impact that we have yet to see play out fully. But as of now, we're officially at the point where Kevin Feige will lie to the fans to sell more tickets, and I'm pretty pissed about that.
Well,
George, did you like it?
I did like it. In defense of that, I don't think tickets, that one line really affects whether or not people's decision of going to see it or not.
I think
Maybe
the biggest draw
Maybe.
was
I don't
quickly
know.
Hugh Jackman.
I feel like if you're gonna go see it, you're gonna go see it. I don't know if like hinging the Messiah of the MCU upon it was really gonna be a make or break decision on anyone who wanted to go see it.
Listen, I'm not saying it affected ticket sales one way or the other, but I can say on my behalf that I feel lied to.
Okay,
And I was
you
excited to
definitely
see what
that
had
you're
happened.
perfectly
Yeah.
you're
And I
perfectly
know
within
I'm
your right
not
to
the
feel
only
like you were lied
one
to.
that feels that
He is
way.
not.
You are perfectly in your right.
I just am like, okay, like I mean, they wouldn't have to do things like this if they just, I don't know, just made like organically decent movies like they did before this, all these last couple of phases, and it's just sad to see. It's sad to see our beloved Marvel, even though this was a win, it still feels like a temporary win. And like this is like, who knows the next time we'll see Deadpool. The last great Marvel movie we saw was uh was Guardians of the Galaxy, and that was James Gunn's last movie. It just feels like we're ending all of the good shit, and now we got to continue with, well, basically what's been more or less not good. And I am more, I'm less excited than ever for the future of the MCU, unfortunately.
Well, we're getting there early, folks, into the future of the MCU despair. But let's move on from that for a moment. What did you like about this movie, sir?
Um, I liked the mask reveal for Wolverine. There probably wasn't a single person in that audience who wasn't happy to see him put on the mask. I didn't know if it was going to happen, personally, just because everything we'd seen up until that point was just him without the mask, and I didn't know if we were going to get it. But he did, and it was amazing. And I got the goosebumps from that scene when they were fighting all the Deadpools. that was great. Hugh Jackman really got that Wolverine
was
pose down that we saw at least 5 times in that movie.
true. That was a pretty solid reveal. I have one note on that part. I just wish they didn't do the white eyes. Like, I wish it was just cutouts. Just let it be cutouts. Other than that, whatever. I can get over that pretty quickly, and I did, because it was awesome. Just the close-ups were really fucking weird to me for a few moments, where I was like, oh, yep, okay. But otherwise,
Sure.
that was a solid moment. George, what else did you like? What did you like?
Like my favorite part?
Yeah, favorite part, something
My
like
favorite
that.
part is I like the Deadpool core.
Yeah. When
That's
they
my
showed
favorite
up.
scene. Yeah, when they were all fighting. That was fun. Because
like
Hugh
it.
Jackman really did get to kill a bunch of Deadpools, and I'm sure he was happy with that too. So
Yeah.
it was a very cool scene. Yes.
It was a good one. Oh man, it's as I was saying, before this, it was a fast-paced movie for me, and so really kind of picking through it and trying to remember all the moments that happened is difficult, because some of my like hardest laughs I don't remember because they were so quick.
Mm-hmm.
Man, I loved that fight scene, but I was on the floor rolling for that opening scene with the fucking In Sync song. Um I was dying. I loved that. The choreography, I thought it was fucking hilarious. That,
They
at
were at the
one
premiere,
point,
and I was like, "Why is NSYNC?" I thought maybe the song was in it, like one of their songs is on the
but
soundtrack, and that's why they got invited. I didn't know it was going to be that amazing of a fantastic performance by Deadpool, like in the intro. And I was like, "Oh, that's cool." NSYNC is there. I was like, "What? Oh, that's
I can
random."
say
NSYNC at the the premiere. Okay.
I can say that at one point, George and I and a large group, a large chunk of our friends, all knew every single step to that song. So I
Yeah,
was just
of
like,
course.
yeah. Now
That was a
Deadpool's
great
doing it
song.
20 years later. It was fucking hilarious. Um, yeah, everything. That fucking minivan fight where they're just kind of going at each other. I loved that. My only one downside about that Deadpool fight, that Deadpool core fight at the end, was they used a lot of shaky cam, and I'm not a fan of that style of like making the action more intense by fucking vibrating the camera. Other than that, it was still choreographed super well and really well done. But who was this director? Do we remember? He did something else that I saw recently that I was like, oh. What's your least favorite thing, Dan?
Um,
Probably my favorite thing.
yeah, I don't need to get into it. Look, I just don't like NSYNC, and that scene didn't do it for me. But I respect that people like it. I don't want that to be the thing that I remember. I don't know. I think there were a lot of. I think overall just waiting for like the grand, like calling himself the Messiah, and then like not really doing a whole lot in that sense. I thought was a little. I don't know. I think I I personally I know that the Blade movie, upcoming Blade movie, has been through more shit than anyone can keep track of. But I personally, Mahershala Ali is one of my all-time favorite actors, and I think he'll do better than Wesley Snipes personally. And just that dig, that there were more than a few digs that in this movie that were personal attacks, like, and that was one of them. Like, there's only one blade, like it was all like I loved it, but also I'm just like, dude, like Wesley Snipes, like, no man, like you
Well,
were a complete piece of shit to everyone you worked with, and who knows how he was even filming this movie. And
I saw a clip that explains that.
I mean, I'm still, I know that maybe it's gonna suck. I still like the idea of Mahershala Ali as Blade. There is not only one Blade. Wesley Snipes can go fuck himself.
Well, there was
And
a
there,
TV show, and the actor who played Blade was Blade in this movie. That he was in the background.
Really?
Yeah, he's in the movie. I think
Oh, I didn't know
I
that.
think Wesley Snipes kills him.
That's hilarious.
Yeah.
I do like that.
Oh.
I don't know. There were. I think the thing that got to me the most. This is Deadpool's first movie under officially the Disney MCU banner, and the violence was there, but the dirty dialogue was not there. And in its place were personal shots. For shock value, personal shots like taking a shot at like literally, literally Hugh Jackman for gaining weight post divorce, which I just cringed. I'm just like, oh man, like that's like in the place of like dirty sexual dialogue is this like personal shot that no one really enjoyed or appreciated. It just felt mean. And that was not the only moment. I'll think of more later on, but that's my only real complaint.
George?
My least favorite, I had kind of two things. One of them was Sabretooth was very anticlimactic.
Oh my god. Yeah.
I was like, okay, that's fine. I guess we're gonna
So
move
much
on.
for that.
Yeah, no
They
significance.
did that on purpose.
Yeah, they totally did, because it wasn't what's his name.
Everyone.
It wasn't the one from Wolverine. It wasn't I keep forgetting his name. Yeah.
It was the original. It was the guy from X-Men 1.
Yeah, it was the guy from X-Men 1, but it wasn't the guy from X-Men Wolverine Origins, whatever. And then my other thing is like, I feel like despite the fact that like I'm sure he's a great character or whatever, but like I feel like they put too much significance on using Peter as like, oh, okay, like everyone just loves him, and then like we're all gonna stop fighting. I was like, that's really nicely tied up in a bow tie and convenient, like
it's fun,
you know. And like, what the fuck happened to Dupender, dude? We're like, justice for Dupender. Like, where the fuck did he just go off to and not even get a speaking line in this movie? Like, what the fuck? Who is this guy that got shoehorned into this franchise in place of like my man who used to drive the cab around and was like pushing so hard to be like DP's sidekick, but they just, you know.
Yeah.
Okay.
There was a lot of the original characters just fell by the wayside. And by the way, why bring Shatterstar back to life so he can do nothing?
Nothing.
What was that? I have a feeling he was cut from some scene, maybe. I don't know. Or
I don't know. Who knows? But I'm just like, I don't get it.
He's got to go film the train wreck of Mortal Kombat 2. So
I get like he's working with. He's also got a job with Peter, and Peter became like a much bigger like, I guess, person in his life.
Everybody loved Peter from 2. Like that's what happened. Is it was a fan.
Yeah, it's funny because they also said, "Where's Cable?" And then like people were like, apparently he didn't like test well. He didn't test. Yeah, where's Domino? He didn't test well with focus group. Domino did not test well with focus groups either. I'm sure. Him and Cable, her and Cable probably both died to the focus groups. So those are the two things that I didn't like about
Domino could have provided some very interesting scenes in this movie, and
but it would
too many people.
Unnecessary, unfortunately. They wanted to just cram as many other cameos in there, and that's
pretty much.
My least favorite thing was Cassandra Nova.
Really?
I mean, and look, I liked this movie a lot, but they did unfortunately go back to their generic enter villain here, formula. She was betrayed by her brother, supposedly, who didn't even know she existed, sent off to some other place, forgotten about, and then killed off in the last scene. Like it just was who cares? It could have been literally anybody and it wouldn't have made
Sylvie.
A very big impact.
It's like Sylvie from Loki.
Sylvie had character.
Oh yeah, later on she had character, but like originally it just was like it's the same storyline of Sylvie almost, but like they didn't do a good job of developing it. Is what I'm saying.
Because this movie, there's two formulas that we talk about for superhero movies, and it's some people will die on the hill of you're only as good as the villain as a character. You know what I mean? Like the hero is only as good brought up by a good villain, or you've got a really great ensemble cast that's just going to tell you a very fun story and give you a little bit more character development and depth. And I think not that we got a ton of it. That latter is more what we got. It was basically just a buddy movie, just let Wolverine and Deadpool chew the scenery and kind of be more visual. So it didn't need a good villain to me to be a standout movie, because you've got wisecracking jokes left and right. You've got the nostalgia factor. Plus, when you got to see Wolverine's like full on story about like what happened, like the exposition that happened and everything, and him kind of talking to X-23, like you got that Hugh Jackman feeling going on. His acting really, he got to kind of play with it a little and not just be, and like grunt the whole movie. I was like, all right, good. They gave him a little something to do, and it
Custom
was good.
said, let him cook. Let him cook. He's right. Let him cook.
So Cassandra Nova was fine, but just as far as everything, she was on the bottom of the totem pole. Not bad, just the weakest link in a pretty strong chain to me.
I don't know.
What I mean?
I get it.
I do think it's important to have a simplicity of antagonist, especially in movies with Deadpool, to juxtapose how silly he can be versus how serious this person is. And that's not lost on me, and I think I appreciate that. I do agree with you on the archetype kind of being kind of typical, but I think her dialogue was pretty good, and the character and the acting was good, and it was a unique kind of like.
I'm not saying she was bad.
Yeah,
she's just. As far as everything else that happened in this movie, I liked the rest of it more.
Yeah,
that's all.
Okay.
Cameos. Let's talk them, because there were a shitload. Let's go with general other character cameos, and then I'll dive in a little bit.
What do you mean general other character cameos?
There's the Wolverine cameos, and then there's other character cameos.
I'm so confused.
All right, who's your
about
favorite
this
cameo?
distinction? I'm so confused about this distinction that you've drawn. What do you mean other and then Wolverine? What?
This question, no matter what it is Chris Evans thinking he's Captain America for a second, and it's actually
that's a great little
amazing
great setup.
And
they set us up so
honest,
good.
Like in terms of like scale of cameos, it's all downhill from there. Like that's the best. It gets as good as you can get.
But yeah, they got an Avengers show up, like. But not
kinda.
Not really.
Yeah, that was awesome. And just having him die in such a non-plussed moment where it's like, done, see you later. You're like, that's fucking great. Just hilarious.
He's a bruh.
I mean, yeah. So I'm gonna go runner up for me was not that I enjoyed the character, more so insanely surprised that they got this person, was Jennifer Garner. Just like, what the fuck? Like,
I was gonna say that too. Yeah,
all the things that
was one of the ones I was thinking about.
You pull Elektra, and you're just like, this is
surprised.
The most random shit ever.
Surprised.
Yeah, very random.
Very surprised.
It was pretty. She was fine. Obviously, like whatever. The third we'll talk about in a minute here, but those three in the cave didn't get a ton to do, which is fine because the movie's not about them. But it was entertaining. I liked seeing Elektra. But I'm like, why not Ben? You could have had some great Batman jokes.
Because he didn't want to do it. He didn't want to do it. He didn't want to do it.
I know.
For me, I would say my favorite is Lady Deadpool, which is pretty freaking amazing and pretty like meta and pretty full circle in so many ways. Aside from the fact that there was so many Gossip Girl, and they just straight up said Blake like out loud. They just said her name out loud when like Wolverine like punched him in the balls or something like that, and he's like, I'm gonna tell Blake that you like and then talking about how hard he gets watching Gossip Girl and things like that, like just like wonderful references and little love letters that he in
that. I don't know her career,
you don't know the story about how Lady Deadpool was created, do you? It is based off of her character from Gossip Girl. Rob Liefeld, I think is his name, who drew and created Deadpool, used to watch Gossip Girl with his wife when it was like the height of Gossip Girl, and Blake Lively is the star of that show, and he based the Lady Deadpool character off of her character on Gossip Girl. And he said years later when he first met her, he and Rob, like, he was too nervous and too geeked out to say anything to them, and he knew them for like a few years before he like spilled that tea. and let her know that he's like, oh man, like I'm a huge Gossip Girl fan. Like, you know, I was like, oh, I get why you don't lead with that when you meet her the first time and you like play it cool. But and then like later on, it like recently there was like posts and reveals and a lot of behind the scenes stuff about how he said like the first time he drew Lady Deadpool unmasked, her name is Wanda Wilson instead of Wade. Wanda Wilson unmasked. He based it off of her. So now it's kind of cool. And also their kids are in it too. The baby is supposed to be their third youngest child, and then the kid Deadpool is their second child.
All three of their kids are in the movie.
Yeah, I think there's 4 kids.
Or whoever.
They have 4 kids.
Yeah,
She just had a baby.
I just saw it earlier, and it was there were all 3 in there at some point. All right, let's talk the Gambit for a second here. There was a lot of digs at like that failed project, and it's great. I think it was great that he got to do it. I'm also, having seen it, I'm kind of like,
now I get it.
This was enough.
Now I get it.
There were moments where I'm like, okay, you do the accent well enough, but at the same time, is this like a caricature of what you would have done, or is this what you would have done?
That's what he would have done. Come on, let's be honest.
I'm all for it if it's like this is him making fun of
no
him playing the role. Great. If this is what he would have actually done, I've got questions as to why they decided this was a good idea. I was never sold on Channing Tatum as Gambit. When I heard that, I was like, Magic Mike? Like fucking G.I. Joe? Fucking like, have you seen like Magic Mike? He was great. And
he could play some other superhero.
G.I. Joe, though? That movie was terrible. Like
he could play some other superheroes, just maybe not Gambit. That's my point.
Fine. He's leave him to comedy and other stuff.
He could play like he has like the build and the look for like
he doesn't
to play
to.
Like a Cap, or
he's
another
gone on the
superhero
record.
type.
He's gone on the record as saying, I don't want to be known as an action star. He wants other roles. That's why he took that last one where he's traveling across the world with a dog, as a former military and yada yada yada. And I'm like, okay.
Listen, I think that yes, this wasn't, if like Tim said, if this was a caricature of him spoofing himself playing Gambit, success. If this was your actual attempt, maybe this was for the best. I will say I am sold on him because I think he's listen, when he was trying to get this going, no. But Channing Tatum like in this era more is a much more serious actor. And I think he actually has decent chops these days. He was in a movie called Foxcatcher, which I think like he literally worked with the guy who that movie is about, and he did a really good job. I think he wasn't nominated, unfortunately, but both Mark Ruffalo and
Steve Carell
were both nominated for that, and that was a very serious movie. And I don't know, the accent, he was great, and the accent, the Cajun accent, it felt like a half step too far, but maybe that was the point. I think whatever you say about everything, I think he did push the accent a little bit because it was funny, and that worked for me. Man, that costume though, if he stood still and never moved, it'd be good, but you have to move in a movie. He just looked like he was like strapped down. Like,
it looked better in the fight scenes. I liked it.
Yeah.
When he was standing still, I didn't like it because
it looked like
fake.
some CGI.
It looked like a Halloween costume, and I'm like, yeah, it's plastic.
Didn't look like a real piece of clothing. It looked like some post-production CGI.
There's some outfits that probably shouldn't be brought to screen, and apparently that was one of them.
I agree.
Do a little bit different. You're wearing literally plastic boots, shin guards with triangles on them. That's weird looking. It works in the comics because everything else is weird looking, but when you're surrounded in a dark, dingy cave and there's real objects next to you, you're like, these two things are not the same.
Adapt the costume to the screen.
It can be accurate and still have the purple and have the headpiece, and you can do something with the boots, but like it doesn't need to look like I bought this at Party City. You know what I mean? So anyway, give it some battle damage. Don't make it look so fucking clean, and it would have worked a lot better. You're in the void, for fuck's sake. What's clean here? Nothing. Anyway,
Nothing.
there was a shitload of other cameos that we're probably not going to get into. There was some awesome Wolverine cameos, which were great. You had Patch, you had not Days of Future Past, but there was a storyline that was similar into the future where he had missing his hand and everything, and he had the one arm. That was fucking cool to see. For me, I liked it. There was the Mark Silvestri Wolverine cover from Uncanny X-Men number 251. Where he's up on the big cross and everything on the mountain of skulls. That was very unexpected for me. I liked that one a lot.
There's the cavalry.
There was the one that takes the cake is the cavalry for sure. That got a huge pop because everyone understood it. Not everyone's gonna know who that cover from an not obscure, but like fucking comic book. But then there was the comic accurate Wolverine, which
Might be the best
I
one.
loved, which he was like 5'4", and I was like, yeah, give me that Wolverine. Like his head was way too big, but yeah, that was awesome. Like that was fun to see for me. I just enjoyed that for a moment. Cause like fucking Hugh Jackman's like 6'2" or something like that.
That's why I wanted what's his name from Sing and from the Kingsman, Tagon Egerton, is that his name?
Aaron Edgerton.
Yeah, to play Wolverine because I was like, he's got the build. He's got the build.
If you want
He
to
can
talk about
sing, he
chops,
can
man.
dance. Yeah, he can act. Like he's got action like experience.
I love-
He could
I
play a
love
young
that you
Wolverine.
quoted him as being from Sing first, as
Because
opposed
you
to
can,
like.
because fucking him and Hugh
Kingsman.
Jackman have that in common. They can both fucking sing like no tomorrow.
I know it's just funny though that you're like Sing, and I'm like, you mean the Kingsman? Like two
Kingsman.
awesome action movies. That would be a better reference for an action movie.
Well, he made just as many Kingsmen as he
I
did
know,
Sing.
but I love the Sing movies, and when I first heard that was him, I was like, oh. Fuck yeah! And then Rocket Man, and like the dude's a beast, man. I
He's
love
amazing.
Taron Egerton.
So he would be a good Wolverine, is what I'm saying.
He would. Also,
Size accurate.
Side note, I'm gonna forget his name, but the dude who plays Wayne in Letterkenny would also be a very good Wolverine. One, he's Canadian, so winning off the bat right there, and he's this stocky, short Canadian motherfucker who likes to get into scraps. I was like, dude, he's halfway there. You just got to lose that weird ass accent he has in the show, and you're good to go. No, he talks funny, not like accent, but he puts on a voice, and it's great. Any other bits before we move on to San Diego announcements?
I like that they got X-23 to come back.
Always Daphne Keane.
That's like, yeah, to like have some.
I like that.
Really
she
nice
put on
scenes.
the sunglasses.
Yeah, the sunglasses were amazing. I really like the extra because I feel like that really maybe
I
that
wish she put
smooths
on the
over the
suit,
fact that
though.
Logan died a little bit easier because they're like, oh, at least they have her here. And I don't know. I'm assuming that she's supposed to be the one from
She is.
Logan.
Yeah,
She's the one
that's
from
the
Logan. She's
same
not
one.
like an alternate universe of.
No, she's
is the one from
our
Logan.
X-23.
Yeah, she's the
we
one
know.
we get to know, which is kind of crazy to think that they pruned her like all those years later. Like that even after she survived the whole ordeal with Logan and with all those mutants they saved, they ended up pruning her anyways. And you're like, what the fuck? Like all that work. You killed Logan
really
and then you
thought
pruned her what the
They pruned Elektra, they pruned Blade,
pruned
they
everybody.
pruned Gambit. That's interesting. I never really combined.
Think about the people that
two.
they pruned. Like and then these random like other world versions of these like B heroes, like what's her name, Callisto from X2, and like like a random Juggernaut who's not Juggernaut. Like it's just like no wonder why they pruned him because he's not the right Juggernaut.
Yeah.
He's not the Juggernaut.
He's the Juggernaut, and he's not the Juggernaut.
That's good. Yeah, solid movie.
Yeah.
Obviously,
Go see it.
if you
I'm gonna go
haven't.
see it again.
I don't have to say that because if you're watching this, you've seen it. Because otherwise, why the fuck are you watching a spoiler cast?
But go see it again.
I'm gonna. That's for sure. All right, let's dive into
Quick little
future
Comic-Con thing.
of the MCU and things that are happening. There's been major changes coming to slate 6, 5, 6, whatever fucking thing we're in now. Phase, whatever they want to call it. They have officially renamed Avengers Kang Dynasty to Avengers Doomsday, and they announced on stage in a pretty epic reveal, I will say, that Robert Downey Jr. is going to be playing Victor Von Doom in this movie. And go. No, it's I'll give you my first reaction to this, and this was legit when I saw this. I literally went, really? You're gonna you can't get anything else, that you're just gonna put it back on this man's shoulders for a movie? Okay, all right, let's do this thing, I guess. So I was not thrilled with it. I have seen a bunch of like fan pictures or whatever, AI, it very well could be AI pictures and shit of him reimagined as Doom. Will he look the part? Yeah, he's gonna look fucking great in that Doom shit. Can he do it? Probably, sure. Do I really want him to? No, not even a little bit. I really think this is a big old waste of money, waste of talent. I think you could have had, not waste of talent, you could have had someone else, give somebody else a shot to helm this movie. Like it to me, it seemed a lot like they basically gave up. They had put all this into Kang, into this storyline. We had a whole fucking television show dedicated to the multiverse and Kang in it with Loki season 2. Now none of that fucking matters anymore. We're gonna just kill Kang or get rid of him or just wash over it, hoping we can forget the taste of it in our mouth. It's like when they had new Coke back in the 80s, and they're like, "Oh, sorry, here, have some regular Coke to wash that bad taste out of your mouth." And it's like, you're not fooling anyone, man. We still remember that you did new Coke and it sucked, okay? So I just really am not excited about that part of it. I'll get into details as to why later. Dan, initial thoughts on RDJ coming back?
Well, my initial reaction is, okay, I mean, cool. Like, that is there is no question that he is going to do a good job. And I find solace in that. Now, my initial reaction was, that's pretty fucking epic. But as we move forward, it does feel like a missed opportunity to give someone else a shot. So whether or not they recast Kang, they're doing that for a reason, because continuity and like FaceTime of the certain actor cast as said actor matters. And I'm like, fine, great. Except now it doesn't, because they just basically brought Iron Man back as Doomsday. Now there's a bunch of questions.
Doom.
Is this Victor Von Doom organically grown in the Tim insert country name here?
Bavaria.
That's the one. And then, or is it a Tony Stark variant? Maybe it's a Tony Stark variant is interesting, but you're bringing back Tony Stark. No matter what you're doing, it's a step sideways. I do have to say, a Tony Stark variant where maybe his dad, doesn't die so early, raises him, maybe is abusive towards Tony, just a completely different, and is raised to be like trying to please daddy this whole time, makes a suit of iron skin instead of an Iron Man. There's something there that intrigues me. Even if you choose a best case scenario in that realm, it still feels like a step sideways. And I am it's just another, like, it's not even a notch in the bad, a notch in the good. It's another notch in the mess cycle that is that Marvel has continuously done for about 3 or 4 years now. And that it's just like, here, there's another one. And I'm just kind of like, my reaction is, meh, right. That's it.
George?
I mean, I said this before the podcast, but it was like, essentially, they had like when Robert Downey Jr. walked away from Iron Man, he gave Kevin Feige a glass case and with a button that said "break in case of emergency," and he broke the glass, dude. He broke the glass and he pressed the button to call back Robert Downey Jr. Now, It's very interesting because I am almost certain that they did study and focus groups with fans, probably, or whoever they do focus groups with. But they did a study, and some of the questions I can almost picture, which is number one: would you like to see Iron Man back in Marvel? Number two, would you like to see Robert Downey Jr. back in Marvel? Would you be okay if Iron Man came back but was played by someone else, say like a Tom Cruise or whatever? Would you be okay with Robert Downey Jr. coming back but playing a different character, not the Tony Stark that died? And all these things were rate on a scale of 1 to 5. And they did that, and they did the math and all the calculations and tallied it up. And the one that popped up to the very top is, would you be okay with Robert Downey Jr. coming back into the MCU? That one was the one that scored overall probably the highest. No specific things tied to whether he played Iron Man or anybody else, just would you be okay? And people probably scored like a 5 out of 5 or a 4 out of 5 on that question every time. And that's why he's back. I'm serious. That's how they did it. That's pretty much how it is. And that was enough for Kevin Feige to be like, well, that questionnaire scored the highest out of 1,000 participants across the board. Like, we're going to take that to mean something. So we're going to find a way to bring Robert back. How he comes back, you guys fucking figure that shit out. And this is what happens, like, and you have to say that seems to make sense because most fans would probably score relatively higher on that question of like, would you be okay if he came back? And most fans would be somewhat receptive to that, more receptive than a lot of the other options of trying to like semi-bring Iron Man back or semi-bring, recast Iron Man, like what are your other choices, right? So it's like, okay, so we just bring Robert back. It's a little half-assed, Dan. I totally see where you're going for that, and it's exactly the same thing they've been doing this whole time, these last few years. They're trying to check boxes.
They are, and I get it. Like from like an oh shit point of view, yeah, that makes the most sense, and they have to be in an oh shit point of view right now. And I get it, and I think I'm just kind of jaded on it right now, or just like tired of it or whatever it may be, Marvel fatigue, and then just seeing them kind of being like, hey, yeah, you remember when they had Tony Stark? Yeah, I remember. Like I'm like, really? How can you not? It wasn't that long ago, it was like 2018, like, or whatever the fuck that movie came out, like. And so I don't know. I mean, look, if they do the right story, is it going to be good? Yeah, it's probably going to be fucking awesome. But do I want that? I don't know, man. Like it's like you were saying, if it's like an alternate Tony Stark that goes evil, which it kind of has to be, in my opinion, in your opinion, everyone's opinion, it kind of has to be that.
It has to be.
That's an intriguing story, but for what point? What purpose are you telling me this story? Is the reason that the first 3 or 4 phases worked is because most of the stories they were telling me, there was a purpose to why you were telling me this story. There was a reason behind it, because inevitably it led up to Thanos and all this and all that. But bringing back Tony Stark, a variant, and telling me this story, like what's the point of this story? And maybe we'll have like a core group of Avengers already built, and maybe it'll give me an emotional significance, like if for some reason Spider-Man's back in this, even though nobody knows who he is, and yada yada yada, like maybe that'll have some significance to people who knew him, seeing him and giving them an emotional journey and having their character grow. Is that a lot to ask? Yeah, because these are Marvel movies, and that doesn't happen on the regular, especially in these phases. So what's the point? What's the purpose of you doing this other than trying to sell tickets and save your own fucking ass? You know what I mean? Like, that's what I care about more now in a Marvel movie, which they're not going to give me, and they haven't given me since Endgame.
It's funny, if you'll recall, in a certain Iron Man 3, they debated us by casting Ben Kingsley, an Academy Award-winning actor, as the Mandarin. And then he wasn't. He was just a dude pretending to be the Mandarin.
Which was stupid as fuck.
It was stupid, is stupid, continues to be stupid. However, there is a best-case scenario where Robert Downey Jr.'s Dr. Doom maybe is perhaps paving the way for a different Doom. that is he's murdered in this movie, and everyone goes and then the real Doctor Doom has his place and moves forward. Do I think it's going to happen? Probably not. Would they bring Robert Downey Jr. back for one movie? I don't know. I don't know.
Why do that at all?
I think this is the thing.
Just do the other Doom story. If you believe in that actor, believe in them. Give them the reins.
We always say, like, I think we're all very aware of how, like, fortunate we are, like, that the quote unquote like Infinity Saga worked out the way it did in many ways. You know, a lot of things had to fall into the right place for that to work out as beautifully as it did. You know, and we're all very spoiled, I think, from that, and I think we can agree with that. But I also think that, like, probably what happened is when they wanted to clean up this mess of the multiverse, they came in and they said, like, what did we do wrong? And then, like, what were we doing right back then? And it seemed like, no matter how you slice it, the one thing that they can all agree on and attribute to what they did right was casting Robert Downey Jr. to play Iron Man. If they hadn't done that, none of us would be where we are right now. Do you know what I'm saying? And they were like, we can put our faith in him to, like, do it again.
It's rough because,
do you know what I'm saying?
Right.
That's the one thing that's out of everything else that they should have done. He's the one thing that they can all agree on that, like, without him, none of this would have worked out.
They took a risk and it paid off.
And they took a huge risk on him, you know?
And Marvel was a success. And it's the same story. You die a hero, or you live long enough to see yourself become the villain.
Oh, man.
And I'm not just talking about Robert Downey Jr. I'm talking about the MCU. I mean, things that are successful, no matter what it is, video games, media, shows, TVs, you see something successful long enough, it's going to lose its pop because there are there are groups of people basing decisions on crowdsourcing, on people's opinions, and what do we think we want to give them, what they want to see, and not really make a decision. And unfortunately, you end up with shit like Star Wars Episode 9 because no one really knows what decision to make or how to move forward. As to Tim's question, I don't think there's a purpose. I don't think there's a reason. I think this is literally what George said. They're hitting the glass. They're hitting the panic button. You know, cue the music. Dun 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 dun. There's the Iron Man symbol on the pager, and here he comes to temporarily save them, to make a bunch of money because people are going to shell out to go see Robert Downey Jr.'s return to the MCU.
They just need to stick a lot of the landings. A lot of the pieces setting up to this needs to land. Like this, I think we can all agree. Deadpool and Wolverine landed right. Like it's good. It's a solid movie. It's going to do great. Next up, Captain America. They need to stick that fucking landing. I don't know if they can draw enough seats in with the Red Hulk, but they need to stick that fucking landing. That needs to be a solid. I'm not saying it needs to be an A, but a solid B, like a solid B plus movie. Like, if it can get an A minus, and for it to be good enough to do that, then that's fine. I can live with that. The one after that, I think is Thunderbolts. They need to stick that one. That one needs to be like Harrison's Ford and all those, because that's a very big new cast of characters that came left over from the multiverse phase. All those people are all mostly from multiverse, so they need to fucking stick that fucking landing too. You know, like, I
mean, it's kind of unfortunate. I think the timing of this was not their best. I mean, yes, San Diego, I get it. They want to make a splash. It's Comic-Con, you got to kind of do something big for it if you're going to do it. If you want to get more people excited for something that's happening in 2 years, I don't think that needed to be announced right now. I think you should have leaned in, like, if you really want to get, like, I think it's going to hurt Captain America 4th, Brave New World, whatever the fuck that movie's called. Jesus Christ. Because everyone's going to be talking about Robert Downey Jr. Nobody's going to give a shit about Sam Wilson and General Ross and Isaiah Bradley, who, if you're a comic fan, go read Truth, like Red, White, and Black. It's a great fucking story, and it's emotional and wonderful, and I think he'll be given some dues in this new movie.
Yes.
And I'm interested. I'm like, generally after seeing the trailer, when I first saw it before Comic-Con, I was like, oh, you know what? Actually, I liked the Captain America TV show. I thought it was fine. Was it the best? No. Did it do its job? Yeah.
Yeah, it
Do I
did.
care about the villain? Not even a little. But did it give me new characters? Yeah. Were they good enough? Yeah, they're fine. They're gonna be great, I think. And
I loved
seeing
it for the sweet Zemo.
yeah, and seeing the trailer for Brave New World, I was like, I want to see this movie. Like I do. Like I actually want to see it. I'm not trying to like force myself to be like another suitor for the princess. It's not like another Marvel movie today. I'm like, oh, cool. This looks pretty good. They're gonna go a little bit more political. I like that in my movies. I think having a statement is kind of a good thing to jump on. And you know, that line where he's like, you may be Captain America, but you're not Steve Rogers. He's like, I know. I'm not. And I was like, yeah, fucking stick to your guns. That's what Captain America does. Like, sticks to the, like, good. Do I need to see the Red Hulk? No. Do they need to sell tickets? Yes. So whatever. But
They're gonna put the Red Hulk in. Yeah.
did we already know that? 100% yes. Like, yes, for sure.
It's been a long time coming.
But it's like now you've got this blanket in front of you of Robert Downey Jr. And you have to now see every movie going forward through rose-colored glasses of Robert Downey Jr. Not just because he literally wears rose-colored glasses, but because we're looking at the future as Marvel MCU fans. We look towards the future. That's what they trained us to fucking do. So now we're looking at, how does this tie into Doom? How does this tie into Fantastic Four? How does this tie into? So now we're going to be tainted going into what I think is going to be a strong movie. I'm fucking hoping, and I'm not putting all my eggs in this basket. I hope it's good though, because you're right. They need to stick the landing. The landing they really need to stick is Fantastic Four.
Who's like
that's a whole other fucking podcast and conversation. But I think that the timing of this was, yes, fan base, great, not great for, I think it'll have adverse effects on the short term for their next few movies. I think it's going to overshadow, especially Captain America that we're getting in February. Like not, like 5-6 months from now. Like that's not that far. So we'll see. I don't know. Mixed feelings, mixed bag. Marvel is scrambling. They are trying to climb out of the hole they've dug, and they're standing on the shoulders of Robert Downey Jr. and hope that he's tall enough. And Lord, I don't think he is. He's like 5'10". So let's try and get this. Let's just hope. At least we got X-Men 97. That was fucking awesome. And let's just work more on animation there, fellas. Come on, let's do it. I'm
What
all
If.
for
I
it.
love What If. What If is fucking
What If
amazing.
was great. I'm just saying the last thing we had was X-Men. So
I was looking through the whole thing, and I was like, I would say like maybe 30 to 40% of the things they did put out, I would say are like pass, like they're good. What up, Tab?
I think that yeah, if they had spread this out, maybe we would have had different feelings about
Exactly.
it. I don't know.
There's just a lot of stuff to wade through.
Thankfully they're slowing down a little, and I think that's only for the best, and hopefully that means we're going to get more quality. What has already been made since they've said that, you know what I mean? Like, how many things are going to drop? Because I know a while ago he was like, we're going to worry less about quantity and more about quality. Okay, but what fucking pokers did you already have in the fire at that moment? Because those are still going to be trash. Because they were being made, just being finalized by the time you said this. So are we still getting those? Who knows? I don't want to get into that yet. That's a whole other thing. I think we're going to call that one. We've been doing this for a minute here. But, if you've got more thoughts, please,
John
let us know in the
Favreau.
comments.
Shout out to that cameo. I forgot about that.
Favreau, for sure. Let us know in the comments if you got something to say about Robert Downey Jr., if you have feelings about Deadpool and Wolverine. Did you hate it? Please, I'm not going to attack you. I want to know.
No, we're going to attack you. We're going to start stuff in the comments.
If you don't give me a reason...
We're going to get in a big argument in the comments. That's what we do.
But, let us know. Look forward to a few more things. I have some fires in the Pokers in the fires. Wow, I am poking fires. This is gonna be painful. We're gonna probably start doing some more video game related content for y'all. So hopefully we can get that off the ground. I know it's been a minute, but hey, we're back and we're doing this. How do I end these things, man? It's been like 3 months. This is great.
We've been the Modern Nerd. And
Thanks for watching. There you go, Smerge. Good job.